Today on the holiday free safe zone video, I'm going to explore some of the games that we can play alone. And these are specifically table games. They're things that you can feel, you can see, in many cases, you can even hear. And I know that there are a lot of, solitaire electronic games that you can play, but this episode is really focusing on table games so that we can really engage all of our senses. And, these kinds of games not only give you a distraction from some of the stresses of daily life, but they also provide an option for engaging your brain and helping with your mental state of being, maybe distracting us from problems, or even helping us with problem solving. All of these games that I have here that I'm going to talk about today are very specifically problem solving games. So the first game that I'm going to demonstrate for solitaire play today is a game that we all know and hopefully we love. If you don't love it, just move on to the next game, okay? Because not every game is for everyone. This is BOGGLE, all right? So all you need is your little game. This is an older version, but it still works just fine. You need the little blocks and of course a timer. I like to use a timer. Some people like to go with as many words as they can find without a timer, but I think the timer makes it a little more fun. And mix those up all nice and good. Get them settled in their spots. I have a pen, and I'm using my fancy unicorn pen that I can feel and see because it's engaging my senses. And then I have just a regular old notepad that I'm going to record the words I find in here. I haven't looked at it yet. And then, of course, what am I going to do? I'll flip over that timer. I'll flip this, and I'm going to find as many words as I can find in this time. And remember, it has to be a word that is at least three letters long. So I've found one here. And it doesn't really matter if you're good at this or not. You can just enjoy it. And what I love about doing something solitaire is you're only competing against yourself. So you're competing against your own best. So if you play 3 or 4 times, you might have beaten your best, your personal best, which is awesome, right? So anyway, that's just kind of how you play. Then once your time is up, you go ahead and you just use the rules that are right there and check your score. And, if you're a competitive person, if you have a little bit of competitivity, you can compete against yourself and get better and better, and you can see your own improvement, which is awesome. Okay, so BOGGLE, awesome game that you can play solitaire to. So the newest game that I like to play solitaire, and I actually play this quite a bit with one other person as well, because it's a great communication game when you play it with multiple players. But it's probably my favorite solitaire game. And part of that is that winning this game is possible. And you don't actually have to keep score. It's harder to win when you're playing with just one person, but it's possible. And it also relies on logic a lot more and on luck a lot less than your solitaire with face cards games. Sometimes I get frustrated with the solitaire with face card because I feel like my chances of winning just aren't that great. So I'm going to talk a little more about this in the video where we talk about playing games with just 2 people. But I want to talk about it for 1 person too, because honestly, this game came out, it's come out in the last 15 or 20 years, and it won a tabletop game festival, and it is brilliant. The game, it's called The Game, and the game mechanics just work fantastically. So what you have, and I've dropped some of the cards on the floor, and I'll pick those up later so you don't have to see me diving after them, but you have cards that are numbered from 2 to 99, and you get them really good and shuffled. And one of the ways in my house we keep them thoroughly randomized, because that's going to help you have a better game, is that we will shuffle them before putting them away and then shuffle them again once we get them out, just to make sure that they're really well randomized. So I'm shuffling them, and again, if you want to talk about engaging your senses, I'm feeling these cards, right? I'm hearing these cards, okay? And then we also have 4 other cards, 100 and 1. So we set those down here, and the way that the gameplay goes is whether you're playing with 2 people or 3 people or just 1 person, and you can play with a few more later on if you want. But honestly, I love that you really truly can get a good solitaire game. So you have these, and your goal is on these that are 1, you're counting upward, and in these that are 100, you're counting downward, okay? And then your goal is to be able to play all of the cards. You can only go upward on these 2, and you can only go downward on these 2. You do not have to go consecutively. Now, I'll just sort of show you how I start my solitaire play here. When you're playing with just 1 person, you get 8 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. And I can look at all my cards, and you have to play 2 cards, and then I'll let you buy the game and find out all of the exceptions to that. But you have to play 2 cards. Now, the goal, of course, when you're first starting out, will be to play things as close to 1 as possible and as close to 100 as possible. So I'm looking at my hand, and I have that number, and I also have that number, which is a 15. So I've played on my 1. I'll play it on this one so it's a little easier for you to see. I've played a 4, and I've played a 15. Now, if you're good at math, you know that that's a little bit scary, but there's a great rule in this. The only time you can go backward on a stack if you're exactly 10. So I could play a 5 right here and go backward, and I might do that, but first I'm going to draw my 2 and see what's in my hand. Very good. Very good. Okay. And I will actually be able to do that. I will be able to play a 5 there. So that's looking great. But I'm a little stuck, and I'm going to have to go into 18. So I'm going to play again, and I won't play all the way through this game for you, but gives you kind of an idea of how you play this game. And I have a 20 and a 22 that I can play there, and I'll draw again. Ooh, oh, this is interesting. Okay, so remember that little rule that we played, that we can go backward? Well, I have some things in my hand that are going to allow me to do this. I'll play 2. I'm going to grab 2. When you're playing by yourself, it's always good to just grab your cards and not play more than 2. It's a little different when you're playing with 2 people. And now I can go exactly 10 back and exactly 10 back again. Okay? And yes, eventually we'll play on these other 2. I'm going to try to play through to a point where I might want to add some cards on some other stacks. I think there I'll play a 10. And here I'll play an 87. Little nervous because I haven't gotten any 90s yet. And if that happens in the middle of the game, it might be hard to win this game, right? Oh, look at that. I did get a 90, so I'll play my 96 there. And I think I'm going to have to go ahead and play an 82 right there. Okay? But remember, we have that where we can go back, forward and back in the deck, which really makes it handy. I'm going to play a 16 there. And then, wow, let's see. I think I'm going to have to play a 76 there. So you kind of get the idea of how this game is played there. And I might have gone up a little too high, but after I pull these 2, oh yeah, there's some good things I can do. I can go backward to 73 and then to 71. Very good. Okay, so that, I spent a little more time on that, but I wanted you to see how we play this game, and it's really wonderful, and I adore playing it. So later on, we might do a video where we actually play the whole game out and speed it up a little bit so you can really get an idea of how that goes. So for my last game that I'm going to show you, it's a game called Continuo. Now, this is the oldest continuously mine game that I have here today. This is a game you can now get again. For a while, you couldn't actually get this game, and I treasured it very deeply, but now it is available on places like Amazon if you're interested in buying Continuo. It's a series of cards with colored blocks in them. I'll show you a few. After a while, you might begin to see a pattern. Okay, and to shuffle, you really just sort of set them on the table like you would dominoes and mix them up a little bit. Okay, getting an idea. So we have yellow, blue, green, and red squares, 4 different colors. And your Continuo game starts when we set this here for either solitaire or multiplayer. You want to have a piece of paper, and you set a card on your playing surface. Okay, I'm going to pull my table back just a little bit so I have, so you can see this a little better. Okay, so you have a card, and then the first player, or you, since you're playing solitaire, you just pick a card. This is mine. And what we're trying to do is match up as many of the colors as possible. You might not be able to match up very many. You might be able to match up all of them. And then you just count the squares. Okay? And I love this game because there's a great combination of both chance, luck, chance or luck, and skill. Okay, skill and patience. So I'm looking for a place where I can have as many matched colors as possible. And it looks like I do have some matched colors. So on that one card, I would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 points. So I'll put that down, and then I'm going to go and see what comes up next. and it's a mostly red and green card. And I'm going to see where I can get the most points for my card here. And it looks like I'm going to get it over here. So you see, the cards don't have to line up exactly right. I have 9 green and then 10, 11, 12, 13. And I think that's the best I can do, so I'll put 13 points down. And that's really how you do until you finish the set of cards and you're left with your score. So you'll start noticing that you might get a card like this where there's a lot of blue, but there's not a lot of blue in front of me. So it might be kind of hard or harder to make a good match, but I can make this match. See, where there's red and blue and yellow. So it's just a fun game. It helps. It gives you something tangible. You're matching colors, you're counting, you're engaging your brain in a lot of those important ways. So the game's name is Continuo. It's also good for multiplayer. But actually, I think my favorite way to play it is actually Solitaire. You can just keep your scores from previous times. If you don't have a 35-year-old copy of the game, you actually have a little box to keep it in. But anyway, I think you'll enjoy that if you can find a copy of this game. And that is the end of this session of the Holiday Free Zone. I hope you've learned about some solitaire games, and I hope you'll join us next time.